Welcome to Growing Your Firm, brought to you by Jetpack Workflow. We're here to help firms unlock the secrets to help you reach your goals faster. And now, here's your host, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow, David Cristello.
Hey everybody, David Cristello here, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow and host of Growing Your Firm podcast. Today's guest is Jessica Zoraida. She is a Latina entrepreneur and CEO of Big Picture Results. She focuses on helping profitable, growing companies make money and do more in less time. She runs a team of professionals who evaluate and align organizations operated by marginalized populations, especially women, and shows them how to maximize their dealings in the business world. We're going to go through Jessica's journey, how she was really self-taught, grinded it out, launched the firm, all the pivots and transitions she's had to make. We're going to explore where she's at today and where she's going next, and so much more. But first, Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure to be here, and hello, everyone.
For folks that are not familiar with Big Picture Results, let's just start with the firm. Tell us a little bit about the firm size and the types of services and clients you serve, just to set the stage.
Absolutely. So Big Picture Results, we are an accounting and tax company that focuses on bringing more to the bottom line for our business owner clients. And we're doing that not just so much on profitability, but bringing more time and freedom and space. We provide accounting and tax services, which a lot of us know are the bare minimum, but we dig deeper to understand the drivers and levers of a business, as well as workflows, processes, and ensuring that the right people are in the right seats.
So do you have an example? I think what's interesting about Big Picture Results is you do the tax and accounting work, but you seem to have a couple different service items or way you approach the client that's maybe a bit atypical. So do you have an example where a client comes to you, you're doing accounting and tax, and then you see this other opportunity, whether it's on people or process or tech or something else, where you could help
Absolutely.
them?
Yeah, I can talk to all of that. So usually business owner clients come to us, they have a pain point, really not happy with their CPA, or they just need to get taxes done, right? That's what we call the bare minimum. They come in, help them out, and there's always room for improvement. Specifically, if I'm putting on my CFO hat, maybe they're not operating as profitably. Maybe they're not focused on the most profitable customers, lines of businesses. We can work on the financials in such a way to give them that visibility, because management reporting at the end of the day should dictate management behavior. It should focus your efforts. We're also going to look at where are there room for saving, not only on a tax perspective, but just within best practices. Are we spending more than the 3 to 5% on advertising, or are you evaluating that on a regular basis? Really marrying the strategic conversation, goal setting with the accountability part, helping them design, let's say, a weekly or a monthly scorecard, preferably weekly, because we know financials by design are reactive. It's done. I'm looking at numbers like this is okay. You can't really do much about history. What you can do, though, and this is where we help really tailor for whether you're a startup, where you have to be focused more on, right, lead gen and getting your customer base, to maybe you're a more established business with double-digit millions. You have to then focus on processes, customer satisfaction. So really coming up with what those customized metrics or scorecards should be for you, for the managers across your organization, ensuring that is on autopilot, being updated, looked at, talked about, and addressed, because it gives you then the opportunity and wiggle room to do my favorite thing, pivot. Mid-month, oh man, we're not good. If everything goes the way it's going these first 2 weeks, we're not going to hit our budget goal on whether it's gross income or net income, right? Let's not always focus on the gross. So what can I do? All right, maybe I got to start focusing a little more on sales. I'm going to put this sort of other side project on hold for the next few days, because I want to make sure now that I have the time to drive forward, making sure I'm going to hit that budget. and it puts you in a driver's seat. And there's nothing more exciting for an entrepreneur or business owner to move away from, okay, my head's not yet above water, I'm just treading, you're putting out fires, to all of a sudden you're like, whoa, like I know what my numbers are. I know what I can look forward to at the end of the month, mid-month, and now I have some time and action to make sure that I hit my goals. There's nothing better that makes you feel not only on fire, but you need that sort of catalyst to put you on this wonderful momentum, because now you're vibing high, you're talking more, and you're going to continue to attract more of the same good.
So I love this. It really speaks. The value prop feels right in the name for big picture results. To be in such an advisory relationship, it feels like, how have you thought about or evolving the packaging and pricing? You are really a CFO partner with some of the things you've talked about. And so are you on a fixed fee schedule, or is this hourly, or,
Yeah.
where are you at today?
Gosh, talk about something that has evolved over the last 11 years since I got this business off the ground. A lot of us starting out, especially if we're starting out bootstrapping or as contractors, providing a service as a vendor, you're going to have to negotiate your rate. You're probably going to do hourly. You're probably going to be sitting on a lot of AR, doing the work, and then hoping you get paid until you establish credibility in your space. Now we're at the point where we carry very little AR because I think at least 90% of our monthly income is recurring. So whether you're a startup client and we're just updating, giving you financials on a quarterly basis, just so you know what's up, just so you can file taxes, or you're a more involved, really large organization where we're doing a lot of your accounting function, we have that monthly recurring piece. That's one huge recommendation I would give to business owners. Yes, you want to diversify your income streams, but if you can get a recurring piece and keep those people happy, it's a great base to go from. We also have different a la carte options because we do custom tailor, especially the advisory conversation, depending on where the business owner, maybe they're taking on a partner, maybe they're looking on to potentially exit, and we want to start preparing the financials and normalizing them in such a way so that they have a good feel of what's a quick and dirty valuation before I even enter into a conversation. So those types of engagements are more project specific, and we will base it on a CFO rate, let's say. But I'm a big fan of value pricing, right? Especially when you're dealing with customers that we're not a service provider, right? Here, we're full of a ton of knowledge, and we're a partner and collaborator to our companies because a lot of them, we've taken them on when they were just starting up. And the holistic approach that we take, maybe it's not a service that we offer in-house, such as marketing or HR consulting, but I've been around this game long enough, and the people on my team, that we have such a beautiful network of smart professionals that are ethical, professional. So that's the best thing. Work with service providers that have a good quality brand and network, because it's easier to work with other good people that are already vetted for you. And that's a huge source of our value prop that we bring to our clientele, because we come in, right? We're pretty much looking under their skirts. There's nothing that you're not going to understand when you're digging into an organization's financials, right? I'm looking at your money, how did you handle it, how you spent it. That tells us a lot about how they're running the organization and how best we can give them a vision, a strategic game plan. And then it's just a matter of finding and aligning the professionals to divide and conquer.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, moving to subscription, I think, is really powerful for firms today. And I know it's probably evolved. Of course, you've had to adjust your pricing, and it could be a range even. What's an entry price point for your recurring services? And then where does it scale up to?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you are a startup, especially, I love working. I was that stay-at-home mom that had to create a side hustle and build this thing a decade later, and here we are. So we are very much committed to helping women, people of color, small businesses that are startups that don't have financial backing, don't even know where to begin. So we have platforms that start as low as $400 or $500 a month. Super reasonable, right? You're not going to get the same level of visibility if you are on our super sweet package advisory platform, and that starts at several thousands a month. And we're going to take care of full suite accounting, but that's when we're having the advisory consulting conversation, understanding cash flow, projections, getting you in a position to, if you want to attract an investor, you can really have that conversation from a position of clarity.
I love it. I love it. A couple more questions on the firm, and I think we're going to rewind to a couple of things you mentioned earlier. But you mentioned your team. What's the team size today, and then what's the structure of that team?
Yes. So our team, we are continuing to hire, especially this last quarter. Right now, we're about 15. So our accounting team, we're made up of, gosh, besides the CFO team, we are a combination of CPAs, controllers, accountants, really deep experience. That's also a huge differentiator. A lot of companies, when you're starting out, yeah, you just got to get a bookkeeper. Bookkeeping is just putting stuff in buckets, right? Big difference from working with a qualified team that, depending on what the task is, they're focused on what they're good at so that it's done efficiently, accurately, and it's essentially bulletproof, not only from an audit perspective, because we always want to prepare in the event that you're audited a few years down the line. We're not making shortcuts today. And this is how I live my life, because you don't want a surprise 3 or 5 years from now. Make sure your infrastructure, your foundation, life, business, it has to be sound so you can put your head down at night and free up space to focus on bringing more in.
Hey, growing a firm community, David here. Just want to share a quick note about Jetpack Workflow, our accounting workflow software. Now, for almost a decade, we've helped 5,000 plus accountants, bookkeepers, and firm owners use Jetpack Workflow to better organize accounting workflows, automate recurring tasks, and easily track and monitor client work. Never miss a deadline again. Stop using messy Post-it notes, generic tools, legacy systems, or spreadsheets to handle workflows and bring sanity to your client work. Now head on over to jetpackworkflow.com. That's jetpackworkflow.com to get started with a 14-day free trial or schedule a one-on-one demo with us. All right, now let's get back to the show. So for those 15, do you have managers? Are they all reporting up to you, or what does the organizational
Oh,
structure
yeah.
like?
So the structure, so I only have our CFO and our COO reporting into me. Because again, we know we're wearing the hat of a CEO. There's so many things that are coming our way that aren't necessarily on our calendar. And the sub teams report to each of them. So our entire accounting team reports to our COO. We have a cleanup specialist. So duties are really segregated in such a way that they're efficient, rolled up to one manager. But one of the things that we also do differently, we're big on cross collaboration. So there's usually 2 or 3 people that really deeply know a client and how to best serve that client. Because let's get real, life happens, right? We're never going to go back to a client and be like, sorry, so-and-so is out this week. Things are on hold. It really allows us to run the ship seamlessly.
Got it. Okay. So you have your CFO and the COO, the accounting team and the cleanup team reports to the COO, and then the advisory team, the other CFO, they report up to the CFO.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and those two report to you. What kind of cadence do you have with your CFO and COO to keep the three of you aligned?
Yeah. So the 3 of us meet at least weekly, and we have our C-suite powwow. We do a really good job of staying on top of using a project management tool, just any salient issues, right? Like the thing that I'm not a fan of, please, if you have an idea, don't just start firing off ideas in emails. Take a little note, take a little list. And then when we meet together, that 45 minutes, we're blowing through all the majors, hashing things out. And right then and there, we make decisions, we get follow-up meetings on the calendar. And the beauty of taking pause and not firing off an email to people that you work with, let it sit for a few days, because guess what? Some of it might shake out. You might realize, oh, I didn't really ask a question. I got my own answer, blah, blah, blah. So by the time you meet, it's scrubbed out and you're being super efficient with your time, and right, which is really limited. I also meet with our COO. My gosh, her and I talk pretty much every day. And again, dividing and conquering, who's doing what, like what came up, cool, responding, everything's so real time. I'm really good about maintaining a zero inbox. And it wasn't always this way. It's a constant push to dialing in. We live by our mantra of what can you eliminate? Because there's a lot, both in work and in our personal lives, that we're doing just because that's the way it's always been done. So I'm sure even every day there's stuff. I'm like, okay, if I take a pause, pretty sure I can like just not do that. Great. And what can you automate? Technology more than I. There's so many things at our disposal. And then finally, delegate. There is a lot always coming our way. And if it's below your pay grade, I'm sorry about this. If it's, I'm so sorry about this.
You're okay. I didn't even hear the phone. We're in a groove here, so it's eliminate, automate, delegate. I did have a follow-up question though on your weekly C-suite powwow, which I don't know if that's
Yes,
the formal name or
it
the
is.
podcast name is. It? What scorecard are you looking at for your own internal metrics? And is
Oh
it kind of,
gosh.
yeah.
Yes. So we have both a monthly and a weekly scorecard. So our weekly scorecard, we divide and conquer as it stands at that moment in time. It's broken out by, let's say, like role. So the CFO role, where are we standing for our recurring billings? What's our pipeline looking like? And like a scorecard should take you 15 minutes to update, right? I look at the system that we use to track leads and all that and calculates it based on where that lead is along the process. It gives them a weighted pipeline. On the marketing end, right? How many leads are we talking to that week, right? That number should be steady, should be going up. If all of a sudden you're mid-month and you realize you're not going to hit your number, that X percent that I'm looking for additional billable, and I see that I've been asleep at the wheel having sales conversations, that's my answer. So it's just beautiful real-time tool. I think it should be really customized for each business, but it's meant to keep you honest, force you to look at things on a really regular basis, and force you to do something as needed.
I love it. I love it. You mentioned elimination. What are some things that felt like it's either small or maybe they were large sacred cows and you're like, we don't need to do this at all. Does anything come to mind?
Yes. So there's a few things I can talk about, something personally, especially during COVID, after COVID, and things that we've eliminated as far as providing clients. I think with us, it starts with us personally, right? We got to make sure as leaders that we're grounded, we're focusing on those things that are going to bring us joy and keep giving us this like amazing energy so that we could keep showing up. I realized this during COVID, we're all asked to be kept home. I'm like, I don't have to take as many coffee meetings as I currently take. Those, since COVID, magically gone from my calendar. I'm so much
Never
more
came back?
thoughtful. A little bit.
Not
I'm
really.
so much more thoughtful about the meetings that I take now, just because I make sure that I qualify the person in a real way, right? Because, I have friends. I love making friends, but I'm always not looking to be sold to or to sell. I want to make real good, deep, meaningful connection that is going to lead to community. And I've gotten really good at teasing that out really quickly, and I won't take the meeting. Another thing that might sound harsh, but I was in a workshop with Felina Hansen, of the founder of Hera Hub. She's the one that interviewed me on that Hera Hub flight podcast. Gosh, this was probably 8 years ago at this point. And you don't have to answer every email that comes into your inbox. If it's truly junk, you literally can just hit delete and it's gone. Whoop, that's it. I don't have to attach mental energy to those things that I'm not going to get an ROI on. And in the same vein, if there's no value in something that you're working on or producing, going to the big picture client, for example, we know what our clients need, what they want, and the type of reporting or details that we provide them has to be aligned with that. We're not going to just run these sets of reports because that's what you've always gotten. And we look, we're like, my gosh, like startup clients, especially, they need to get to the meat of it. They're not ready to look at an extraordinary level of details or scorecards or all these things. So we've eliminated all this superfluous stuff that they don't need. And as a result, we can have this lower pricing tier that is manageable for the startup clients that will get them engaged in their business sooner because they're not constrained by the price point.
Yeah, I love that. I think the more things firms can eliminate personally, professionally, it gives you so much more space and energy to do what you love. I know we're going to be rounding out of the interview soon, but I couldn't help but ask, and I don't know where you want to begin the journey here, but you'd mentioned you launched the firm as a stay-at-home mom. I'm curious how that got going and how you managed that balance. But then I'm also curious how you found your way into the profession. You'd mentioned, and you've been known on many podcasts for you had to grind out the journey to get here. We could start on the latter, maybe we'll go through the former and see where we end up.
Sure. Gosh, yeah, it's funny because I'm definitely a grown, mature woman, but I still feel very energetic and young. I realize I've had many hero's journeys in my past, with the corporate banking role being one of the more educational ones. So yeah, I have about a 12-year corporate banking career under my belt. I ended up working directly for senior management at a no longer with us investment bank. And they sent me to grad school for entrepreneurship and strategy and corporate finance. So I got the education of my life, paid for, things that I would not ever have had available to me had I not been so hungry and always willing to do the work. And despite me not being the smartest person in the room, despite me having the fear that can choke you, doing it anyway, having the courage. And the number one thing that we can do in this world until the day we take our last breath, get learned up. So the educational component, the experience, the corporate grind, for those of us that have come from that environment, there's an unmatched level of professionalism, ability to understand large ideas and process and data and boil it down in a meaningful way. That's what good managers do. And that experience is essentially the crux of what big picture results is all about. Taking a step back and being thoughtful, designing a game plan, and then you divide and conquer,
I love it.
right?
Final question. You mentioned keep going even though you might have fear that feels like it's choking you. What do you do? Do you suppress it? Do you ignore it?
Whew.
How do you get through it?
Yeah. So I don't like when people say no fear, right? That is complete bullshit, right? Unless you're like dead inside, we all have fear. That's your body telling you, hey, whew, like you got to get through this. But if you're courageous enough and you have the real talk, you got to do so much inner work, some of us, to get there, whether it's energy work, going to the gym, do what you need to do to get your foundation right. Have the self-talk, power poses, look in the mirror, do it anyway. Because over time, with anything, you're going to build muscle memory. You're going to get better at it. You're going to really be a source of inspiration and power to those that need it from you. But it starts with you getting out there and just doing it, even if you feel like you're going to freak. We're all human, right? Do the breathing exercises. All those things work. There's so much out there. You just got to give it a go.
Yeah, I love the concept of building the muscle memory, right? These are new grooves you have to develop, right? And it's going to be flawed action in the beginning, but I think I love the concept of just do it, and it's not going to be perfect, but you're going to build a muscle memory. Jessica, this has been a whole lot of fun. I know you're quite prolific
Yes.
around the internet. What's the best way for our community to connect with you?
I would love it if everyone would check out our site, bigpicresults.com, BIGPIC results.com. You can add yourself to our monthly newsletter off of the contact page. We make it a point to provide really useful content to our community, regardless of where you're at the business stage, not only on the financials, but the process part, the people part. And we have a wonderful section on the bottom for those of us looking to secure capital so that you can grow your business.
I love it. I love it. We're going to link everything up. And if you listen to Jessica's journey here today and you couldn't jot down every point that we've been talking about, we'll link it up at jetpackworkflow.com/blog. That's jetpackworkflow.com/blog. We'll link up to your site. We're going to do a full summary of today's interview. If you enjoyed today's podcast, leave a review. Helps us get the word out. And if you really love today's podcast, Jessica said something that really ignited a moment for you, a new idea, a new thought, new perspective. Maybe it was around how you need to eliminate your way to growth, or the concept we talked about around fear or packaging. Well, then share it with a fellow firm owner that needed to hear this type of information. That's a really great way to say thank you to Jessica for coming on today's show. Jessica, it's been a real treat. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining Growing Your Firm, the podcast series for global, small, and medium-sized businesses ready to scale and increase profits. You can check out more podcasts by following the links in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. At Jetpack Workflow, we're all about maximizing returns for accounting firms and CPAs. Check out more podcasts on growing your firm and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.